Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After all the Dolphins news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. Remember, guys, this show comes out each and every single Monday right after the Sunday when the game is played. So we only have one news story today before we get into the box score of the Dolphins game that they played today, Sunday, as I'm recording this. The Dolphins claim wide receiver Matt Collins. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Another veteran wide receiver will head to Miami via waiver claim. The Dolphins submitted a successful claim for former Eagles wideout Matt Collins on Wednesday. Collins follows Trevor Davis, whom the Raiders recently cut to South Florida. The Dolphins have lost multiple receivers to season-ending injuries in recent weeks. The Dolphins have also signed offensive lineman Evan Brown off the Giants practice squad. They waived offensive lineman Chris Reed and cornerback Ken Crowley. So there you go. That's the news you need to know about for today. Now, this actually is big enough news where I can actually have an opinion on this. Matt Collins is a good player. He's a fast guy. He's a big guy, and that's, I think, the most important thing. He's a physical receiver who can get downfield for his size. That's pretty impressive because he's actually, I think he's 6'3", and is again very fast for his size. So, and we saw that in the game against the Jets today, where he garnered a pass interference call that was called on him. When the Jets cornerback ran into him, the ball was severely underthrown. If it was out ahead of him, it would have been a walk-in touchdown. We ended up having to settle for a field goal on that drive, unfortunately. But he was wide open. And Ryan Fitzpatrick just underthrew him, but it was a pass interference. And then he was open again on another play where the corner kind of grabbed him a little bit to slow him down, and it just threw off the timing of the route. Now, am I saying that should have been pass interference? No. And we're going to get into it with all the, what happened at the end of the game. To me, sometimes I can't really have an opinion on any of this because some of the calls sometimes are so ticky-tacky. It's unreal. But yeah, so there was another touchdown miss to Matt Collins. So he made a difference in this game. He was getting open as a deep threat in this game in one-on-one coverage. That's my point. I didn't want to get lost in the weeds of the pass interference stuff, but that's what happened. Again, I think this is a good pickup for us. Hopefully he can be here for a while and develop into something, but it was nice to see him his role is very simple. He was just obviously there to, take the top off the defense, and he did a good job of that. So hopefully he can continue to do that in Miami. Because it was a solid pickup for the Dolphins, especially someone off of waiver wire. All right, let's get to the box score. The Miami Dolphins fall to the New York Jets 21-22. The Dolphins fall to 3-10 on the season. They cannot complete a second consecutive season of sweeping the Jets, which would have been awesome. We were on a 4-game win streak, I believe, against them, and it felt good, every single one of them. Unfortunately, the zebra-striped men over there can't keep their dang hands out of their pockets for 2 seconds, or we would have won this game. But it is what it is, dude. Let's start with the offense, because I think it's definitely... We'll start with the defense, because the offense is the most interesting. The defense had a pretty solid, pretty dang good day, actually. Sam Darnold finished 20 of 36 passing, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The Jets' leading rusher, was Bilal Powell. He had 19 carries for 74 yards, which is, it's not bad. Anytime they got under center, they really struggled to run the ball, but out of the shotgun for some reason, that was their best run of the day. It was the same inside zone run every single time that really hurt us. That's where most of those 74 yards came from. But anytime they were under center, we did a pretty good job of bottling it up. Ty Montgomery was second in rushing with 9 for 31 yards. The leading receiver for the Jets on the day was Robbie Anderson, who had 7 catches for 116 and a touchdown. The Dolphins are lucky Sam Darnold sucks, or that number would have been higher. I think this guy, what's his name? Vincent Smith was their second leading receiver with the one catch for 37 yards that ended up pretty much being the kill shot for the Dolphins, which, I think it was Stephen Parker. I believe maybe it was Parker who went for the game-winning pick, and that's what that defense is designed to do, by the way, is to bait the quarterback into throwing that play, and it worked. And he went for the pick. Am I upset that he did that? No. I'm not. I'm actually totally fine with what he did. I mean, that would have won the game. It was a field goal game. A field goal would have won the game. I'm totally fine with what he did in his decision. Does it suck that we didn't get it? Yes. But if he would have picked it off, he barely missed it. I'm glad that he went for it like he did. Unfortunately, the things that transpired after that play, we still could have won the game, and I thought we deserved to win the game for some of the plays we made after this play. But it is what it is. I'm not mad at that whole situation at all. But that was their second leading receiver, basically a play. So yeah, let's get into the defense. Overall, I thought, again, they played a very good game. They played decent red zone defense. We had some busted coverages in the secondary, but to be honest with you, that is to be expected with this defensive secondary that is just... The pieces are always moving. I think they're settling down a little bit because these players have had a good amount of games with each other. Ken Crawley, who actually put in a good amount of minutes with this secondary, obviously was just lost, but... with Bobby McCain being out, all that stuff, the communication has been better than I thought it would be, and better than it should be, to be honest with you. So, some of the busted coverages are, they are what they are. But overall, I thought the defense played well, considering the circumstances. Again, we had issues for some reason stopping the run out of every time they were in shotgun. I don't know if it was because they spread us out a little bit. And we just had a tougher time in the box. Or maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. We did a better job of stopping it in the second half. But that run really hurt us all day. And like I said, another issue that we've talked about for many weeks now is the defensive line just doesn't get enough pressure. And it is what it is. But, a lot of people... Sam Darnold had way too much time throughout the day. And again, that's nothing we can fix. I mean, even Taco Charlton didn't even play in this game, so the pass rush wasn't there. It was non-existent. And again, if Sam Darnold wasn't so bad at reading the field and getting the ball out quicker and making decisions quicker, he had a lot of people open a lot of the time that he just missed. And that was due to just the lack of pressure, dude. People would peel open or people would be open, and just Sam had all day to really pick and choose who he wanted to go to. And then with the defense that's in the National Football League, this is one of the worst pass rushes I've ever seen. He got almost perfect pass protection almost every single play, especially if we didn't blitz. So, it's tough to watch sometimes, but hopefully that changes in the offseason. But again, it's the same issues with this defense that they've had, but they performed well. Despite those issues, they still played well. Did they get a little bit lucky with some of the bad play by the Jets quarterback? Yes. But overall, I like the game plan, especially some of the stuff that Patrick called at the end of the game. And the adjustments that we made at the second half were noticeable, and they worked. And this defense clearly is ran better than it has been in a long time. A very long time. It's way better ran than it was with Matt Burke. You can just tell. Imagine what Matt Burke would be doing with the talent that we have right now, and him coaching it, and him being the head honcho of the defense. I mean, it would be abysmal. So they're still doing, the coaching staff's doing a great job. The players are executing the best they can. So overall, I thought it was a solid day for the defense. They kept us in the game, even though we couldn't finish drives. So again, a pretty decent day by the defense. Wish they could have finished a little bit stronger, but it wasn't all their fault. I think we'll save the end of the game for after we get done with the offense. So again, let's go to the offensive side of the football, which was really interesting. Ryan Fitzpatrick had a weird day, one of the weirdest days I've ever seen a quarterback have. He finished 21 of 37 passing, 245 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception. The leading rusher of the day was, again, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who had 7 carries for 65 yards. Patrick Laird finished second in rushing with 15 for 48. Myles Gaskin finished third for 4 for 5. 4 rushes for 5 yards. So, and we'll go to receiving here, too. Obviously, Devontae Parker departed early because of a concussion, I believe. Isaiah Ford, which was a huge surprise, and this is another player that has really good off seasons. We just don't see it translate to the field, and it finally did. He had 6 catches for 92 yards. He looked like the slot receiver that we've been missing with some of the routes that he ran, and he was very reliable on third down, and that's something that this team needs, and hopefully he can continue to bring that. Allen Hurns finished second in receiving with 5 catches for 68 yards, and Patrick Laird third in receiving, 4 catches, 38 yards. I want to start with the positive, and then we'll get into the negative before we get into Ryan Fitzpatrick. Again, it was nice to see Isaiah Ford play really well. That was good to see. Again, this is another player that we've heard a lot about in the offseason, in practices, in preseason. We haven't seen that translate to the regular season yet, and it finally did. It was nice to see that. He's got a lot of talent, and it's good to see that pay off in this game. Patrick Laird continues to be a really nice addition to this team. I feel like he was underutilized in this game. I feel like he needs a bigger chunk of the game plan moving forward. Whether that's screens, getting him in open space on linebackers, whatever it is, he needs to get the ball more. He needs to get more looks in the passing game, even though he had 4 receptions in this game. And especially in the red zone, he needs to be a bigger part of that package. Because if Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki, if DP comes back, are on the field at the same time, and you have Patrick coming out of the backfield, that presents a lot of issues and matchup issues for a defense. And Patrick is a very, very good receiving back, and it's really good to see that because we haven't had that in a long time, and it's good to see that from Patrick coming out of the backfield. So that was great. It was a nice little surprise there. Again, Isaiah Ford had a bit of a coming out party, which was good. The tight ends are pretty much non-existent on the day. Mike Gesicki had 1 catch for 6 yards, and the rest of the tight ends did nothing. Greg Williams and his defense does a good job of taking tight ends away because oftentimes there's a DB on him. So the scheme that they run is, it's a good scheme for tight ends, I would say. So let's get into Ryan Fitzpatrick. Again, Ryan Fitzpatrick finished the day 21 of 37, 245 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And this kind of just leads into the offense as a whole. We just weren't able to finish. The reason we lost this game, I believe we had 15 to 14 plays in the red zone. The reason we lost this game is we couldn't finish drives. Now, whatever happened, it is what it is. But if we finish drives, we're not even talking about that stuff right now. If we make a field goal, we're not even talking about this stuff right now. We just missed a lot of opportunities in the red zone. And again, back to Ryan Fitzpatrick, one of the weirdest performances I've seen by a quarterback, because he had a good game getting us down there. He was making plays with his feet, especially when Devontae Parker got out of the game. I was super concerned that, how are we going to move the ball with just Mike Gesicki as probably the best weapon on the field right now. And I thought it was going to be a lot harder, but obviously Isaiah Ford, Patrick Laird, those guys stepped up, and Ryan Fitzpatrick stepped up. He made plays with his legs. He was able to throw some good balls on the run. Allen Hurns kind of stepped up a little bit and had some nice catches on third down. So there was that. Those were the positives of Ryan Fitzpatrick's day. He was able to come up with plays to keep the drives alive, and get us down in the red zone. But he just missed a lot of throws in this game, a lot of throws. He missed Allen Hurns on an out route in the end zone for a wide open touchdown. He missed Mike Gesicki twice for touchdowns. One, Mike had, I'm talking leverage on one of the DBs that were safeties that were much smaller than him, that if he just puts it on him, it's going to be a touchdown, and he just misses it wide right. The other one, Mike Gesicki just kind of did a little, it was not really a slant, it was just some kind of inside route. I would have to go back and look at the play, that he just overthrew him. He just led him too far. And both of those should have been touchdowns. And again, the Allen Hurns, that should have been a touchdown. I don't know what the heck was going on with Ryan Fitzpatrick in this. I don't know. He missed Matt Collins for a touchdown that ended up being pass interference. I don't know if it's his arm, because his arm, I could show you guys plays if I had the ability to do that, where you could see his arm strength, and it's like, wow, that was a really tough throw. You have to have a strong arm to make some of the throws he made. I don't know if it was because of the weather. I'm not really sure what the heck happened, but for a quarterback who has played very well despite the circumstances, to miss throws like that is very disappointing. So it was just a very odd day, man, for him. And he, like I said, there were a lot of positives. He did a lot of good things, but there were a lot of negatives as well. It was a very up and down day for Ryan Fitzpatrick. I will say this. He just missed too many throws. He had some bad turnovers in this game. Some that should have been turnovers that weren't, like the lollipop over the middle of that Myles Gaskin, just a tremendous catch by him. He had one that was called back by Burgess, who, by the way, didn't even catch the ball, and it was holding on that play anyway. But yeah, it was not a good day for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if we had Devontae Parker, I think our red zone woes would have been a little bit different. But you can cry on line all you want. He missed throws in the red zone that were there to be had, and that's unfortunate. And some of the play calling in this game, before we get into, because I'm going to get off because there's other things that I think happened in this game that need to be pointed out. Chad O'Shea called a really good game, in my opinion. Like I said, I think one thing I would have done is utilized Patrick a little bit more in the red zone, made him more of a vocal point of coming out of the backfield and maybe getting a mismatch with him. But other than that, I thought the play calling was pretty good. He had a couple bad play calls, though. There was a 3rd and 5. Maybe it wasn't 3rd and 5, but it was 3rd and short. Maybe it was like 3rd and 3, where we ran the ball and Myles Gaskin got dumped in the backfield. There was a couple of 3rd and shorts where I would have liked to have seen us run different plays in those situations early on in that game. I think once we started realizing that, hey, we're just, again, I don't know why I say this every week, that we can't run the ball, I think the play calling got a little bit better, and he found better ways to get chunk yards on first down, like to get and we were really able to run the ball better in that fourth quarter with some good runs by Patrick. But there were some iffy calls there where he needs to understand his personnel, and for some reason the Jets are one of the best run defenses in the league right now for whatever reason. Steve McClendon's a good player, but I don't really like Greg Williams all that much. But I guess you got to tip your hat off to him to getting that unit to play well in that department. But yeah, I feel like maybe we shouldn't have ran the ball in some of those crucial situations. But again, he has changed this offense drastically from what it was a few weeks ago in terms of putting put it like I've said in the last video against the Eagles. We are really a passing team now, and we're much better at that, and I'm glad that the emphasis on that has happened and the switch has happened because we're able to produce better, and we don't have these TFLs where running backs get clocked in the backfield, and we have to have these 2nd and 12, 2nd and 11s all the time. And it just really helps our offense. But again, there was a little, just early on in that game, I felt like some of the play calling could have been a little bit better, but I felt like, it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. Like, it wasn't consistently bad. He called a good game, and unfortunately, we weren't able to capitalize on a lot of them due to bad execution. But let's get into the final thing before we move on to answering fans' questions. Okay. The end of the game was absolutely outrageous. Okay, first of all, we missed a pick that should have been a pick, and God only knows if we had other players and we called that same play, if we had Minka there, Rashad Jones there, whatever Dolphin you want to point out that we've had in the last 2 years were there, that would have been an easy interception for them. Unfortunately, this secondary is a band of misfits. It's like the Misfit Toys and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I mean, there's just a lot of literally misfits on this team that nobody else wanted. So, unfortunately, we weren't able to capitalize on that, and that is what it is. So that was a kind of a heartbreaker play. And then we get into just around midfield, and I think first down was an incomplete pass, or maybe we stuffed him on the run. I can't remember. But second down second down, we were able to actually sack Sam Darnold, and I think it was Vince Beagle. I was jumping out of the gym. I was so excited about, quarterback pressure in general, but we were able to actually sack him, and I felt at that point we won the game. And that set up a 3rd and 17, which it actually played out where the Jets kind of ran like pretty much a safety valve, because even if he completes this pass, it's still 4th down, and the field goal is pretty much impossible to make, especially with Sam Ficken, who's been a terrible long-range kicker his entire career. So, is what it is. But so he attempts to dump the ball down, which is just a great decision by Sam Darnold, because that's what this Jets team needs right now. And Nick Needham ends up deflecting the pass, and it falls incomplete. And now it's 4th and 17. That's an easy walk-home win. 4th and 17, they have to get 17 yards to win the game. Obviously, they can't dump it down to get in better field goal range, because obviously that's the last down of the game. So, the commentators are freaking out. The challenge flag is thrown. Oh, it's pass interference, right? First of all, the fact that this ref called pass interference on that route is insane. And this is where this rule is insane. To give them an entire new set of downs on that route, by the way, that would not doesn't help them at all. Doesn't help them at all. It's not like this guy's going for a first down. This isn't even putting them in ideal field goal range at all. To review the play and overturn it to give them an automatic first down and move the ball to the spot of the foul is ridiculous. The circumstances, everything. First of all, there's a reason he didn't throw the flag. First of all, the situation and the circumstances for what route he ran, the circumstances of the game, are the reason the flag wasn't thrown. It was not that egregious at all. He mistimed it a little bit. I'm not going to say it wasn't pass interference by the letter of the law, but there's a lot of plays in every NFL game that aren't called pass interference by the letter of the law, and we all know that. Okay, so the fact that he threw the the fact that he overturned it, Al Riveron, whatever the heck his name is, was like, oh yeah, that was clear and obvious. It's just honest. It was stupid. If this was last year, we would have won this game easily. That flag should never have been, I keep saying thrown. That play should never have been overturned. It was way too ticky-tacky. Like I said, he wasn't even he still could have caught the football, dude. Okay? It was just he's on him the entire time. It's good coverage before he even looks at him, by the way. Do I want a little bit better technique there? Probably. Just a little bit. Or just better timing. Not even technique. He arrives a little bit early. Barely. Let's just put it this way. There's a reason it wasn't thrown in real time. Because you have to slow it down and analyze it. And you're like, oh, look at his arm on his shoulder. Oh my God. We don't see that especially on that route. We don't see that 99% of the time anyway. I didn't like the call. Was it pass interference by the letter of law? Yes, it was. Should it have been called? No. Not at all. It should not have been called. It should not have been called for the circumstances of everything. And like I said, pass interference at this point is so dang subjective. It's not even a rule. It's not objective at all. So, it is what it is, dude. But we got utterly robbed in this game. Utterly robbed. They should never have overturned that. Ever. I was just as mad as Brian Flores was. And I'm coming from this as an NFL fan, and I'm sure you guys are too, where we see plays like this all the time, identical plays like this where flags aren't thrown. And especially not in a fourth quarter game where this decides who wins or loses. Pretty much. So, it literally nullified everything else the Dolphins did good before that, by the way. The Jets got really lucky. Let's just put it that way. They got really, really, really lucky I'm not even going to talk about what happened after this play, because what happened. The defense played well enough to win, and they got robbed. It is what it is. You don't throw that flag in that situation on that play, because I think everything, to me, it's all in context. It's all circumstantial. Like I said, if you watch the NFL and you see that play, which that route is ran 1,000 times a week, the way defenses play it, and especially in man coverage, is like that almost every single time. The only thing that Nick Needham could have done differently is a millisecond or a second he doesn't reach his hand around. That's it. That's the difference in the game. You've got to be kidding me. That's the reason we lose. That's the reason we lose. It's insane. That's the reason we lost that game. That team deserved to win. The fact that it was taken away from us because of that play is ridiculous. That it was going to be 4th and 17. The game was won, dude. The Jets are a terrible third and long team. I think they're the worst in the NFL. And we saw that when Adam Gase was here. We were terrible on third and long. It's so frustrating. That's the reason we lost. I know there's a lot of uptick about the whole why didn't you ice Sam Ficken? Who cares, dude? Okay, if he calls a timeout, I guess maybe that it depends on what kind of person Sam Ficken is. I get it. It's like you have a timeout, why not use it? I could care less about that. The team played well enough to win. Defensively, offensively they didn't. We should have finished some of those drives and capitalized on some of those opportunities, which we didn't do. We scored 21 points without any touchdowns, which is insane. But it is what it is, dude. We just gotta move on. And in the grand scheme of things, does this game mean anything? No. As a fan, does it mean something to me? Yes. I really wanted to win that game. I didn't want to lose to Adam Gase. He didn't deserve to win at all. And if anybody thinks that Brian Flores was outcoached, that's absolutely ridiculous. Our team should have won that game. That flag should never have been overturned. It is what it is. It's actually kind of stupid that that's reviewable, in my opinion, that particular play is reviewable. We can all thank the Saints for this, okay? And Nickel Roby-Coleman, to be more specific on that one. It is what it is, dude. I still don't even think in review that should have been overturned. I've seen worse this year that weren't. Way worse. Most of this game. Those refs suck, okay? Refs suck. Al Rivron sucks. This rule sucks. It's not definitive enough. It's too dang subjective. We had this issue with the catch rule and all that other stuff. We still kind of have that issue, even though I think it's been better officiated now. It is what it is, dude. I don't know what I'm supposed to say about it. I'm really upset about it. I can tell you that right now. Like I said, in my opinion of it is, it shouldn't have been overturned, just because of everything that I talked about before. It's unfortunate that it was called pass interference. And that entire game was unfortunately, I don't want to say taken away from us, because again, if we hit a field goal and we score in the red zone, we win the game. So it wasn't, the refs didn't lose us this game, but they definitely helped, and again, they took away such good defensive play at the end of that game. What a stand by us. And it got ruined by a flag on a 7-yard route that wouldn't have even have mattered to begin with. So it is what it is. Even if he catches the ball, like I said, the chances of him hitting that field goal are very low. I'm going to look at it right before I move on to the fan Q&A. I'm going to look at where exactly this to get the exact, because I don't want to misremember things here, and then everybody's like, well, yeah, it was actually 15 yards or something crazy. I know it wasn't that long, but just to be sure and cover my bases here, I'm gonna take a look at this. And again, like I said, to me this rule is so dang subjective now. All right, let me see. All right, here we go. Oh, I apologize, guys. It's an ad. It's a podcast, guys. If you're 29 minutes in, you guys can chill out for a second. I don't know. I just went through an ad to get another dang ad. An ad through an ad? Okay, I watched this play about 3 or 4 different times just now, and it's even more egregious than I thought it was. Like, now I'm even questioning whether this was pass interference or not. So, again, this should not have even been called, dude. At all, bro. Like, dude. It's so ridiculous, man. This I don't know. That should not have been overturned in my... It is what it is. I gotta let it go. Alright, let's get into the fan grenade. I mean, that call to me is just absolutely crazy. I hate losing. Losing like that sucks. Like, it really sucks. Alright, let's get to the fan Q&A, ladies and gentlemen, where we answer fans' questions. This first question comes from David. David says, or asks, he says, is this when Devontae inevitably gets injured and takes forever to return? What do we do at wide receiver that there is a pretty good chance both Parker and Wilson are out again? Yeah, Devontae, I would say it's probably a good chance that he misses the Giants game, but I think that's probably as far as it's going to go, because I don't know how the heck... I know it was a head injury, so really concussion protocol is kind of iffy when it comes to that kind of stuff, but what are we going to do at receiver? I mean, Patrick Laird is going to have to play better and be more involved, and Mike Gesicki's going to have to carry the load, and Isaiah Ford is just going to have to, hopefully, maybe he can continue what he's doing, but none of them are the, I'm going to make something out of nothing type of players. Mike Gesicki is, but, you know, he can catch a tough pass in traffic, but the other guys can't, so, you know, that is what it is, but I really don't know. Like I said, I think those are the things you're going to have to do, is get Patrick more involved in the pass game, you know, target Mike a little bit more, and, you know, hopefully Isaiah Ford can continue that kind of production. But I don't think Devontae Parker is going to be out that long. He might miss a game, but I don't think he's going to miss more than that. This next question comes from Douglas. Douglas says, "Hey Skaggs, the pass interference late in the game was absolute baloney. In a way, I should be glad we lost the game, but in my heart of hearts, it was BS. Any thoughts?" Yes. Like, when I just watched it it made it, in my opinion, I was a little neutral on the situation. I was like, okay, by the letter of the law, yes. But even me watching it again, it makes me even more upset that they overturned that. That is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that the commentators were like, yeah, that's so, bro, I think that's pass interference, is to me ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. But it is what it is, dude. You know, you got to move on. I hated the call. This next question comes from David again. David asks, Fitz seems to be a bit off. He missed 2 touchdown passes and several more. He looks banged up to me. Am I off base? Do we have to return to Rosen at some point? No. If Josh wasn't played in this game, we would have lost by, maybe 10 or 7 or something like that. But, he kept us in this game. He kept drives alive. He wasn't, I don't know. He was up and down. Like, he had a lot of good, but there was also, his fair share of bad, unfortunately. But I think you stick with Fitzpatrick at this point to finish the season. This next question comes from Traps. Traps says, "What's up, Skaggs? What a disappointing loss. I don't think that we played our best, and the PI call took a toll on Flores at the end. I still think we had an opportunity to call a timeout and try to ice the kicker. What second half adjustments would you have made from a coaching standpoint?" I think we kind of talked about it a little bit. I would have gotten Patrick Laird involved in the red zone more. And I feel like the defensive adjustments that we made, we kind of blitzed a little bit more when they were in the shotgun, worked. And, they tried to catch us in some of those run blitzes, and we still had a really good coverage on the back end despite that. So the adjustments that Patrick Graham made were pretty awesome. Offensively, I think the adjustments that we made were we were a little bit more aggressive in the passing game. Even though we had short yardage situations, we didn't necessarily go to the run as much as we were. And so I think the adjustments were good for the most part, other than the whole, I think you got to involve Patrick in the pass game. He needs to be like the second or third read or the first read on some of the, I think you can design some plays for him that would work, because there is a lot of attention on some of the other guys in the end zone, in my opinion, especially if Devontae's healthier. So those are the only things I would say, Louis Ruiz. This next question comes from SM. SM says, if you can sign Tom Brady, but he wants a 2-year deal and he says draft whoever you want, but I'm the starter, do you do it? No. I think if you had a talented enough team, Fitzpatrick is he's a really good bridge quarterback. He's a good starter in this league. He's not average. He's good. So if you need someone to play, and if you're waiting for Tua to get healthier, or maybe you have Joe Burrow and you don't think he's ready, I think that is a good situation to have, in my opinion. You don't need Tom Brady coming in here and kind of overshadowing that process. This next question comes from Alonzo. Alonzo asks, do you believe we get another look at Rosen before the close of the season? I'd like to see him again to gauge his improvement. No, the biggest wake-up call for me was the Washington Redskins game, how much different the offense was without him. It was drastically different. The play calling was way different. I could see why the players were like, we are a worse team with him under center, which we are. The offense is very limited with him. And I feel like Fitzpatrick, he's great in getting everybody where they need to be in pass protection. He makes quicker decisions. He just reads defenses faster. That's because he's played in the league longer. Plus, he gives you that playmaker factor that Rosen doesn't give you. And I think Rosen still needs to work on a lot of things. His reading of defenses, getting the ball out faster. Those are some of the things that he needs to work on. Because he took way too many sacks when he could have gotten rid of the ball. His sense, he just holds onto the ball way too long, and that's an issue with him. He needs to his clock needs to be sped up a little bit, especially behind an offensive line like this. You just can't afford to do that. And him being a pocket passer makes it even worse, because if he holds onto the ball like that, he's not going anywhere. He's not creating with his legs, so it's probably most likely going to be a sack, and that's something that he needs to improve on, because his play style. That's not a good match with his play style. That leads to very bad things. So I think we've seen enough of Rosen. He needs to work on those things, and hopefully he can come back stronger. This next question comes from SM. SM says, do you agree with re-signing Eric Rowe? Yes, for his the role that he has carved out in this defense in terms of taking tight ends out of the game. He's done a very good job of doing that, surprisingly. A very good job. And he's actually been a really good tackler in the box, too. So, I don't know. I'm just as confused as everyone else is. I don't get how he played that bad at corner, but I don't know. He's done a great job at safety, especially in this defense. This next question comes from SM. SM asks, this quarterback enigma is so simple to me. If Tua is on the board and we draft him and put him behind our starter, let him heal, that would give Rosen another year to show what he can do behind a better O-line and hopefully improved running game. Yeah, I could see that. That's fine. I would be totally down with that if that's what the Dolphins were willing, if that was the plan. It's not a bad plan. This next question comes from SM. SM asks, Skaggs, I know you're not a huge college football guy, but tell me if you like what you've seen in Jordan Love. I need to see more of Jordan Love. I'm not him play better, but I need to watch more of Jordan Love. Out of all he's a small school dude. He doesn't play in a lot of big games, so I just need to, you got to take the time to watch some of those guys. But he did play against LSU earlier in the year, but that was a little unfair to him. But he's got a lot of talent. When you watch him play, you can tell. You can see what people, when they bring up Jordan Love, what they're talking about. This next question comes from Josh. Josh says, Skaggs, with LSU winning on Saturday, has Burrow impressed you even more? And should Miami consider taking him? Yes, Joe Burrow is the real deal. Kyler Murray, and I love Kyler Murray. I loved him coming out, and if the Cardinals didn't take him, the Dolphins were they had a trade in place where they were going to trade up and take him. That's not a joke. That's real. Which sucks. I wish that would have happened. But Kyler is, to compare one thing he reminds me. I'm confusing myself here. I lost track of where I was going with this. The reason I bring up Kyler Murray is Kyler Murray had a throw against Alabama in the playoffs, college football playoffs, where you were like, yeah, this guy's the real deal. That was an Aaron Rodgers throw. you know, Joe Burrow had a throw against Georgia where he makes all these guys miss, and then he throws an absolute dime on the run. And he had a couple other plays like that in that game. And, you know, those are the type of things I'm like, all right, that was an NFL type play. And he's had a lot of those moments, really. And I'm sold on Joe Burrow for sure. I think he's going to be a good quarterback, especially in a system like ours. And if we can build something around him, he can be special. So, yeah, I would take him about those Dolphins. This next question comes from Malik. Malik says, the Dolphins are doing great. I'm just ready for next year so people will stop calling us trash and win the Super Bowl. Just wait until we get all of our pieces with the draft picks and the money. We will be nasty. Yeah, I agree with that. I think this team is really well ran. You know, I just love the way this team, the direction they're going in, the way the team is ran week to week is a lot better than it has been in a long time. And it's a noticeable difference, and it's a good. The Dolphins are heading in the right direction, and it feels good. This next question comes from Ride Sharing. He says, so we just got beat by our old head coach and our ex-quarterback. Just had a monster day, and we've pretty much shitted away most of our talent. Any thoughts? I'm at peace with the Ryan Tannehill situation. I'm content on whatever that man does. You know, I'm not like, oh, we could have had that, because it was time to move on from, and, you know, I'm sure Ryan would have wanted to too. But the Dolphins, that's something they needed to let go. They needed a fresh start, which is what we're doing. They need a younger quarterback, you know, in the building, which is what we're doing. And just a fresh start. They did the right thing. No matter what Ryan Tannehill does, they did the right thing. And the whole Adam Gase thing, I mean, he didn't outcoach us at all. Like, we should have won that game. I mean, it is what it is. Dude, like, he had nothing to do with them winning. Let's just put it that way. The touchdowns that they scored were broken plays. They weren't great. They weren't great play designs, and it is what it is, dude. But yeah, Ryan's balling out. I've always been a Ryan Tannehill guy, and I've always liked his game, and he's got a really good team around him, or not really good, just a good team around him with a good offensive line and a good running back, and he's balling out. And that's what he should have had in Miami, and he did in 2016 when we went to the playoffs. But unfortunately, we weren't able to put that around him consistently. This next question comes from Josh. Josh asks, which players would you bring back from our current offensive/defensive sides of the ball for next year's team? Patrick Laird, Preston Williams. This is on the offensive side. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I would bring him back and draft a young quarterback. Offensive linemen are tough. I mean, Mike Gesicki, I think, is going to come back. Devontae Parker, I would bring back, obviously. Man, in terms of offensive linemen, I would say Michael Dieter needs to come back. Obviously, he's going to come back. I think he's starting to play. He's playing better, and I think he has a chance to be good down the road. Jesse Davis is a good player. Shaq Calhoun I like a lot. I think he has potential as well. So those are some of the players on offense. Defensively, I would say Nick Needham. I'm really thinking right now. I forgot about the Ryan Lewis interception. That would have helped too. Like we had a lot of missed opportunities in this game. But anyway, I'd bring back Nick Needham. I like Jenkins as a rotational player in this defense, but I don't think he's coming back, nor do I think he deserves it necessarily. Linebackers, they're pretty set. I feel like I'd bring back all of them. With a better defensive line, they'd be nasty. Steven Parker is not bad, but I don't think he's good enough to be like, okay, we don't need to replace you. And yeah, that's to be honest with you, Vince Beagle's good. Well, he's good for what he is, I guess, but he's nothing that I would be like, he's nothing that we shouldn't replace. Like, we can find better. Same thing with Taco Charlton. Like all the defensive linemen to me need to be replaced. So, or need to add to it in general. So yeah, to be honest with you, the only positional groups that are safe are linebackers. DBs. There's a lot of things that the Dolphins need to change in that room, and especially with the defensive line. So yeah, those were the guys I think. That would be my thought process going into the next offseason. All right, let's keep going into the fan Q&A. Let's see here. This next question comes from Mark Jefferson. Mark says, should we use 2 picks like 1, 2, or 3? 1, 2, or 1, 3 to get Joe Burrow? Are you saying like should we use 2 picks? No, nah. I don't think I would go that far. I still think you can get Tua. So I think the Dolphins, like I said, are in a really good situation when it comes to the quarterback situation in this draft. Like I think they have the only one that stands in the way is Cincinnati, and hopefully Cincinnati goes full on Cincinnati, and we can have our pick of the litter. Like if somehow those two fall from the number 1 spot, the Dolphins have they don't have a real chance. They have, unless someone else does trades and they're like, oh, we don't really want Joe Burrow, we don't really care if they leapfrog us. The Dolphins have their pick of the litter at that point. This next question comes from Josh. Josh says, do you agree that Miami should let Rosen finish out the season? No, I don't think they should do that. I think it's, again, the locker room, they already said how they felt about that, and they're like, listen, if you want to win, then why are you starting Rosen? And we saw the difference. And again, the Redskin game is a perfect example of just like the difference in the level of quarterbacking that is happening. Clearly, one is better than the other. So I think that sends a bad message to the team, and I don't think you want to do that. Like everybody's saying how consistent Brian has been, and I think that kind of, does pretty much a big donut in that consistency. Or should be a big U-turn. This next question comes from David. David says, Laird's numbers weren't eye-popping, but the Jets are a good defense. My eyes tell me there's something there. Good vision, a good receiver. 1,000 times better than Balaj. Does he have a future with us? Absolutely. I compared him to Danny Woodhead before. He reminds me of Danny Woodhead in his ability to come out of the backfield. And he's got a little bit more power to him and a little bit more durability, too. So I'm a huge fan of his, and hopefully he can continue to be a big part of some of the games going forward. And remember, this is an undrafted running back out of Cal, for God's sake. So, this next question comes from David. David says, why were Dieter and Taco benched? Was Dieter benched? I thought he played. I could be wrong about that, but I thought Dieter played. And I think Taco, if I'm not mistaken, missed the game due to injury. I could be wrong about that. But I thought Dieter played in this game. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone has to tell me down in the comments, but I thought he played. This next question comes from Richard. Richard asks, what about signing Robbie Anderson? Yeah, I like this. Off the Jets as a free agent. Would take him away from our division rival. Yeah, he's a good receiver. Like, he was missed a lot. And I like his ability to stretch the field. And he's a pretty decent route runner, too. He's just not a very good run after the catch type of a guy. But, yeah. But I think the Dolphins are pretty much set at receiver if everybody's healthy. This next question comes from SM. SM says, Skaggs, tell me what you think... and finish this draft, please. Round 1, Tua. The next first round pick, Tristan Wirfs, or however you say his name, the tackle from Iowa. Najee Harris, running back from Alabama. That's your 3. I like that 3. You get a Big Ten lineman. They're coached well at Iowa, and then you get really good quarterback in my opinion in Tua. And then you get a really good, versatile running back in Najee Harris. I like that. It's a pretty good one. This next question comes from Alonzo. Alonzo says, what did you think about Justin Herbert? To me, he looks like the best-looking prospect out of all the quarterbacks coming out next year. What was it against Utah? I think they upset Utah in the Pac-12 championship. I watched that, and I don't know. He just doesn't. He doesn't have. He's not a flashy quarterback, but I can see where people see the potential in him. I definitely think he has potential. I'm just not 100% sold on what he can be in the NFL, in my opinion. I just feel like there's a little bit of a fog there in terms of whether he'll be good or not. This next question comes from SM. SM says, if not addressed via the draft, which position is more important in free agency, cornerback or edge rusher? Edge rusher, it's not even close. This next question comes from Alonzo. Alonzo says, would you consider this year a successful season? I'm not necessarily talking about a record, but more so about having the right coaches, the right culture, GM structure in place. Absolutely. I think that's something the Dolphins actually nailed, because this season could have just been a disaster. Like, we should be 0-16. And the fact that we've been competitive in a lot of these games, and whether it's in spurts or the entire game, is very impressive. Like I said, just think about Matt Burke coaching this defense and how much worse it would be. And, you know, there is a noticeable difference, and this team is well ran. And I haven't thought that or felt that since the 2016 team, where it just because of the way we put it together. And not the defense was terrible, but the offense was ran well. I have a better feeling about this than I did in 2016. Way better. And I think that, again, the Dolphins have a very bright future. That is going to be it, guys, for this week's episode. Let me know what you guys think about the Dolphins' future. Let me know what you guys think about this pass interference call. It is what it is. And I am Skags1383. And again, I'm very excited for this offseason, dude. It's going to be awesome. Well, I can't wait to see what the Dolphins do with this roster. I am Skags383, and I'll see you guys in the next one.